Hello chess players. Those players who really want to make progress in chess should practice puzzles daily. But to make the progress rapidly with smart approach, one should not practice puzzles but also to have understanding of how to recreate similar position. Here is the today's position. We are going to do the same. We will begin with key positional observations of the puzzle in terms of pros and cons. We are playing as a black color and this is double-edged complex middle game. So starting with, we have played castling on the king side. Our pawn structure is damaged, but our king is quite safe due to fianchet of bishop, and it is also surrounded by three pieces, two knights and rook. Queen is in the opponent's area. So this is the opponent's area, and especially in the opponent's king's quadrant. So quadrant means 1/4 part of the board, that is called the quadrant, and wherever the king is tight, that is called the king's quadrant. We have executed pawn storm using flank pawn attack on king side, h5, pawn g5, g4, g3, pawn f5, f4. Both knights h7 and g6 have sufficient space for activity. Now, let us see the other side of the board. White has played castling on the king side, but pawn structure is completely damaged. No pawn structure. White king is surrounded by three pieces, two bishops and rook, but they don't have any activity and they are tied well. White queen on d1 square, rook f1 and two knights are far away from the active area. White has created threat of pass pawns but no time to execute it. Now pause the video and try to find the sequence of moves that will lead to winning position in this game. You can also write your moves in the comment box. Alright, if you found Queen has 3, brilliant. This demonstrated your capacity to anticipate because here King has only two options. If King goes to h1, then it is directly pawn g2 checkmate by pawn only. So that's why White is accepting the queen sacrifice. After that, knight g5 check again. We are controlling most of the squares, like knight is controlling h4, pawn is controlling g4, pawn is controlling f3, and king has only one square, a g2 square, then knight h4, one more check. Now again, king is surrounded by our pieces. Knight is controlling this square, pawn is controlling f2 square. So king is forced to go on h1 and then beautiful pawn checkmate. Now you see, it is very easy to solve any position if we observe the board properly using the technique positional observation. We have solved this tricky position and we might be able to recreate similar position during our game. Now, let us understand the steps that brought us to this position. Therefore, let's begin from the starting. Game started with pawn d4, white is controlling center square e5, knight f6, developing a minor piece and controlling two center squares, knight f3, white is developing minor piece controlling two center squares, pawn g6, preparing for bishop development, pawn c4, white is controlling center squares efficiently on d5, bishop g7, developing a minor piece and preparing for castling. This is king's Indian defense opening. Knight c3, white is developing one more minor piece and controlling two center squares. Castling to increase the king's safety. Pawn e4. Here it looks like white is having good center but black is quick on the king's safety. Pawn d6, controlling the center square e5 and opening a bishop. Bishop e2, white is developing the minor piece and preparing for the castling. Pawn e5, taking an initiative to break the center square. Castling to increase the king's safety. Here, if white would have captured the pawn, then pawn takes pawn and knight capture pawn, and we can also get back our pawn because it is discard attack by our bishop. So white continued with castling. Knight c6, developing a minor piece, controlling two center squares. Pawn d5, white pawn is entered in our territory and attacking our knight. Knight e7, defending our knight. Knight d2, perhaps white is trying to play pawn f4, pawn 4. Maybe white wants to play knight b3, playing on the queen side. Let's see. Knight e8, preparing for pawn f5, flank pawn attack and opening the bishop. Pawn b4. Opponent has started attacking on the queen side to open the rook files. Pawn f5. Counter attack to gain space for improving our piece position. c5. With this move, opponent has 2 pawns in our area and here we have to be careful. Knight f6. Again moving knight back to f6 square to control the center. Pawn f3. White is gaining more control on the center, and here it is important to note that with this move white king is exposed on this diagonal, so there could be tactics on this diagonal using our queen b6 move. Let's see. Pawn f4, advancing our pawn in the opponent's area. Knight c4, white is improving the piece position. g5. This is a novelty, starting flank pawn attack to destroy white's pawn structure. Remember that our king setting is not compromising because it is already defended by fianchetto bishop. Pawn a4. White is continuing attack on the queen side. Knight g6, improving our knight. Bishop a3 looks like a mistake because this diagonal is already blocked by 2 pawns and pawn. Rook f7, pawn b5, advancing their pawn. So now there are 3 pawns and we have to be very careful. Pawn takes pawn, opening the queen file. Bishop takes pawn. Pawn h5, preparing for attack on the king side. Pawn a5, pawn g4, trying to damage pawn structure so that we can get our pieces in the opponent's area. Pawn b6, pawn g3. Here we are aiming to destroy the pawn structure, and this pawn is very dangerous for white because it controls 2 squares of the king. King h1 and 4. We are threatening mate in 1 here. Bishop back to g1, defending checkmate. Bishop h3, a good move, a really surprise. Here pawn capture pawn is a mistake. In case if opponent would have played pawn capture bishop, still this could be mistake because queen capture pawn and we are threatening checkmate on the next move. So we have given our bishop and we are threatening checkmate. So in case white wants to defend the checkmate, there is only one move, rook f2, and we can get the rook here for sacrificing a bishop. Still it is in our favor. So back to the game. White played pawn capture c7, bishop capture g2, one more attempt to sacrifice a bishop, and this time white has to accept it because this time this is the first move. Here we arrived at our puzzle position. As you know the solution, queen h3, brilliant queen sacrifice, king capture queen, knight g5 check. Again, king has only one move, king g2, knight h4 check. Again, king has only one move, and pawn g2, beautiful pawn checkmate. Remember that our aim is not to keep all the moves in our mind, but understanding of piece placement and coordination are important. I have shared PGN file in the description box. Now, let me show you the position for the next video. So, here is the position for our next video. You may like to think and comment your answer in the comment box. I hope you have learned something new today. Check out my other videos and comment your feedbacks. Stay tuned for the next video. Thanks for watching.